Okay. So it looks like that the live thing is working. Excuse me just a sec.
Okay, I'm watching my clock. It's still at 5:14.
I have absolutely no audio. I am not muted, but I can't. Oh, you got me. Thanks. Bye. But I can't hear anybody else.
Hi there.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I can hear you, but through the phone.
Okay.
All right. I'll try and fix it.
Otherwise, just use the call-in function.
I'll try and fix it. I don't know what the call-in function is.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I will back out of it and try and log back in and restart this and see if I can connect my audio.
Okay. And Joan,
Okay, bye.
I'll be Joan's proxy for the roll call if she's not back.
Okay, thank you, Helen.
I'm calling the meeting to order, meeting of the University City Public Library Board.
This meeting is being recorded.
Yes, thank you. And I would like Cindy to call the roll for attendance.
All right, Edmund Acosta,
Here.
Mark Barnes, Aaron Ginsberg,
Here.
Joan Greco-Cohen,
Here.
Latrice Johnson, Gerald Lander. He was here earlier. He's not. We'll count him as a yes because
Yes, I'm on the screen.
just not in front of his screen. Helen Nelling,
Here.
Kathleen Simpson,
She's here. I can see her. She's muted.
okay, she's waving. We'll take that. And Cindy Zerwas present.
Okay, thank you.
And then I'd like to, Mr. Clay has just joined us. And then we have two guests, Martin Gafori and Becky Esrock from Stiefel. And then from the library, Cindy Dykeman, Kathleen Gallagher, and myself, Patrick Wall.
Thank you. The first item of business is minutes. I believe we have two sets of minutes
Yes.
from the regular January meeting and from the special January meeting. Does anyone have any additions or corrections to those minutes? Okay. And I see that Mr. Lander has joined us.
Can I make a motion that we accept the minutes from the two meetings that are included in our packet?
Yes, you may.
I
Do I have a
second.
second? A motion has been made and seconded to accept the minutes from the two previous meetings. Can I have a voice vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Patrick, is there any correspondence?
No, I don't believe there was any this month, other than, all that stuff we've been copying you on from Gilmore and Bell and from the kind people at Stiefel. So.
Okay. Council liaison report from Councilperson Clay. What's going on?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Just a couple of things. Wanted to follow up on a question I believe that was asked, I think last time about Proposition F, which is the proposed sales tax to go on the ballot in April. There's a question about using Costco funds to address what Prop F is looking to do, is address the deficit in the uniformed pension. And what about using the Costco funds? And a couple of couple of different prongs to that answer. First, the deficit is about $8.6 million. So even if we used all the Costco funds, it would take a fair amount of time to close that deficit just based on what we could legitimately use from Costco, because some of the money that we receive from Costco goes into different buckets and is already designated to go to different funds. So if we carved off the piece that could go to the uniform pension, it would take a long time to do, and that money wouldn't be available to do any other things.
Stacy, excuse me, Stacy.
Yeah.
What deficit? Deficit of the city? City
Uniform
budget?
pension.
Okay, thank you.
The uniform pension, yes.
Thank you, sir.
So there was also a question about Prop P funds. That is the St. Louis County-wide tax that goes to public safety. Some of those funds actually are being allocated to the uniform pension, and without getting too much into the weeds, that's more for police. And so we've put money in there kind of for the police pension, even though it's the uniform pension. So it's police, fire, and ambulance service. But the bottom line is there's a portion of that money that is already going in to help shore up the reserve, those pension funds. So could we put more in? Yes, but that means we wouldn't be able to do other things. So the picture that's emerging is you can put money in, but you're taking it from somewhere else. And so you're really just moving the deck chairs around. You just need more. At this point, we just need more revenue to cover the deficit. So let me pause there, see if there are any questions about that.
Good
The other
explanation.
thing, I'm sorry.
Good explanation.
Okay, thank you. In other news, there has been a survey that has been released regarding public safety. And what I can do is, Patrick, as per our process, I'll follow up with you, make sure that the folks on the library board get the link to that so they can take a look at it if they wish to. As you know, we are melting out of our last great snowfall. Admittedly, we had some challenges getting our streets cleared. I think the volume of snow, weren't necessarily surprised by it, but it was a lot of snow. I mean, it just was. So took a little bit longer to get some of our side streets cleared than we would have liked, but I think we did get to them all. And certainly the sunshine and the warm weather helped with all that. Those are the big things that I have.
Okay.
Helen, thank you
Yes.
very much. Thank you very much for having sent out the email maybe last week, bringing to our attention and reinforcing the idea that we could participate in some surveys. One of the surveys was the emergency response, and the other, which I think you just referred to, Stacy, and bringing also later on the one about vision, University City vision for 2040. So both of those are very important surveys, and I'd like to just thank you for bringing that to our attention, and we will be trying to get participation in that.
Yeah.
Now, Stacy, I do have another question.
Yes, sir.
In the news, the liability of the trolley, potential liability of the trolley. Can you perhaps do a quick and dirty for us?
When you talk about liability, are you talking about the liability associated with the utilization of federal funds? And if we don't,
yes,
if the trolley does not materialize, the jeopardy that we face associated with that? Okay.
yes. And is there an another liability.
Well, let me address
The first one.
federal
Thank you.
funding first.
Yeah.
We did access, the Trolley Corporation did access federal funds for the project. At this time, not all those funds have been utilized because we know the trolley has not been operational and not been able to work, frankly. So
How much federal funds?
good and great. I
I think it was 52 million.
50 million,
52.
yeah, in that
50,
neighborhood.
50.
Yeah, about 50 million. So the long and the short of it is, if those funds are not utilized for their appropriated purpose within a certain amount of time, what happens is any funds that have been used would have to be paid back, and the likelihood of getting any more funds from the federal government, given a poor track record, is slim to none. And that has implications for the region. So I think we're not for that, the implications for the region. I think there may have been more of an appetite to just say, okay, we tried, it's not working, let's cut our losses. But the utilization or lack of utilization of those funds has implications for the region, because they're not going to say, well, the trolley project, we won't ever fund that again. What they're saying is the metropolitan area, and actually a bigger region than that, you all messed up. You all won't be eligible for funds going forward. In terms of liabilities beyond that, the city of University City, that not St. Louis City, has been working with the trolley company to make sure that there's appropriate bond funding available if at the end of everything it's not successful, we can repair the streets.
Bond issued by whom to be paid off by whom?
So
By the
trolley
company
corporation, and I'm getting its legal name wrong, but essentially those in charge of the trolley, they were asked to put aside, asked to secure bond funding, I want to say $3 million to help repair the streets should the trolley not be successful.
That means to pave them over.
Yes.
Okay.
To repair them, to get them back to the way they were.
Okay.
But the biggest issue is the federal funding issue. I mean, that's what keeping everyone up at night.
Thank you. Stand by for more questions along the way.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions for Representative Clay? Nope. Okay. Stacy, thank you so much for keeping us informed, and everyone do all the surveys. They're important. Okay. Next item of business is, do we have any public comment?
We did not receive anything prior to this meeting.
All right, moving along is the librarian's report. Patrick, everybody can read the report, but is there anything you would like to point out this evening?
There were some things that have gone by out of my mind a little bit. We were Kara and Kathleen were both successful in grant applications. Kara, I think for the third year in a row, was funded at more than she'd asked for. And Kara had also donated a lot of the books that she had for her committee. Her committee report is, and there were some $15,000 worth of books to the library. So we were grateful to that for that. And then, hey, Joan. And then, do you want to move to the discussion item since Martin and Becky are both here with us?
Yes, let's do that. We'll skip over the consent agenda for the moment and discuss the bond sales and bond maturity.
And Martin, Becky, we were both talking, we were talking in the budget and finance meeting earlier about going to.
If there isn't, see, he's muted.
Okay, all right, so where is your?
Can we let's see, we've got the numbers from you today. If we were thinking about going to the 20-year maturity and keeping that 50,000 or so, so that the library had a little more room for services and salary and costs over that 20-year period, would that how would that look compared to the numbers that you sent today, which I have not shared with the board yet? We just got that this afternoon.
Yeah, no, that's okay. This is Martin. Hey, good evening, everyone.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it really wouldn't have a significant impact. It would just extend the maturity a little bit and cost in the aggregate a few $100,000, maybe more, over the life of the loan for those extra 3 years or so. In the one-page memo that I had sent around, which is fairly close to where rates are now, they may have moved 5 to 7 basis points, or 0.05 to 0.07%. So not a considerable movement from when I sent that to you about a week ago, but rates have continued to kind of move in that upward projection here in the last month and a half or so, really. But it's not really going to hurt in any way if that's a budget issue that you'd like to be aware of, and make sure that we stay closer to the 400 versus 450 or 460,000. Totally fine. Just let us know, and when we go to market the securities tomorrow, we will be letting our underwriter know, who is going to be discussing this with the investors as they're taking orders and moving down that path to get the interest rates set tomorrow when we bring that forward to the board for approval. So it's not a problem. We can make that move. We've already discussed that with our underwriter, and she's aware that may be an issue that we do as far as making an adjustment tomorrow.
Okay. And just so everyone knows, this is pages 18 and 19 of the board packet sent out last Friday that Martin was referring to with the sort of estimated costs on that.
Okay. Are there any questions for the folks from Stifel?
Does it make our project more attractive to investors either way?
Not really. I would say, probably the shorter the bonds, it would be more attractive, perhaps, because right now we will be able to sell the bonds going out to 20 years if that's what is determined. But investors are liking to keep their money kind of short. If you think about just the environment that we're in, with interest rates kind of rising, there's a lot of uncertainty with respect to supply chain itself, as well as just interest rate movement and where things are going to be in the next, X months. Things are changing so quickly. So just in that aspect, the shorter the better, because a lot of people would be chomping at the bit to get 5-year bonds, 10-year bonds. I think that would be even better, but that doesn't really fit within the budget. So we're looking at 17 to 20 years, and I don't think it'll hurt you in any way if you were to stay within 20 years and you maintain an average debt service closer to 400,000. That won't be a problem.
Thank you for reassuring us that, because it would be nice to have a little bit more flexibility in our budget for programs.
That would mean that the latter part of the 20 years, we would have money to be using for other things in the library other than the renovation, so that if we had other things we wanted to modernize, do, buy, sell, whatever, we have a cushion.
Yes.
We are selling these bonds with optional redemption date where you can refinance the bond, similar to refinancing your home mortgage. So at that point in time, which we're using a 7-year call at par, you could reevaluate things. And if you chose to accelerate the repayment and shorten the final maturity, you could at that point in time. That gives you another 7 years to determine if you would like to shorten that and increase your payment slightly.
So who would design this option? And it's not an adjustment, but it's an option
You're saying in the future?
in the future, correct?
It would be the decision of future boards. We would monitor interest rates and provide savings options to the district at future as that optional redemption date approaches. And at that point in time, we could bring certain repayment options back to the board for their, sign off and approval.
Okay, did you say 7 years?
Correct.
Okay, is that and if we were to wish to have an option available at year 5, what would we need to do?
That's not a problem. If let's say you have a windfall of, I don't know, $1.5 million, or so you receive excess funds all of a sudden, and you're faced with, hey, we really don't need this for X. We really want to put this to pay off bonds. That's something that you can do in what's called a defeasance. It's a right, yeah, it's a silly name for something that doesn't explain what it is by itself. So the defeasance is literally just taking cash and paying off bonds with it. So, and putting money in an escrow account until that call date. So if you're at year 5, you still have 2 years. You still have 2 years until that call of 7-year call. So those funds, what we would do is size the defeasance in a way to make sure that you are able to escrow those bonds to maturity to continue to make those debt payments. Because unlike most of the time, home mortgage, you don't have a prepayment penalty. There are situations where you do. But with these bonds, essentially what's happening with this the normal call feature is about 10 years. A 10-year call feature is what we would call a normal municipal bond call. And what we're doing, because the tax code changed in 2017 to say you can't refinance your debt in advance of maturity anymore, you have to wait until the call date comes. You have to be within 3 months of the call date.
Okay.
So what we try to do is shorten and compress that call to as short as we can.
Okay.
So if you're not quite at the call, but you have extra funds that you want to pay off debt, that defeasance is a mechanism that's allowed to do that. And you take the debt, you take the excess funds, the cash, you put it into the bank, and the bank continues to make those debt payments until the call date, and then they pay off those bonds officially. But as of the date the defeasance is executed, those bonds would be off your books.
Okay. So that the library, the board and our director would be the ones to put any of this into action. We could approach you at any time before the call date, the 7-year call, and then this process would start off. And would there be any changes in the repayment even before in year 6?
So yes, if you were to pay off, let's say 20%, let's just play the math for simplicity, just use percents. If you pay off 20% of your debt, then 20% of your interest expense would go away as well. So that would be self-supported, and then the balance would be what would be remaining for you to continue to pay out of operations from the levy that was passed in 2019 to go ahead and pay that. But the escrow would be set up as 20%, and then the other 80% would be made up from the bond repayment. So if you pay off bonds, it's just like refinancing your house in that regard. Your interest expense, if you go from $100,000 loan to a $80,000 loan, you've just reduced your amount by about 20%.
So it is very much like refinancing a home.
It is. Yep. very much.
But it's not anywhere close to adjustable rate mortgages.
No, it's this is all fixed. This will all be fixed rates as of tomorrow. We will be going to the market. We're going to have a brief call in the morning with Patrick just to go over this information once again and have our underwriter on the phone as well to explain this is what's going to take place. This is the economic news that's in the market that may have an impact. And then after that discussion, we will open the order period for about 2 hours. So that's when orders come in to our underwriting desk. They'll keep track of everything that comes in during that period. And then we'll say, okay, so we have, and tomorrow night we'll report back the amount of orders that we received. And we'll say we received X amount of orders. At noon, we'll have another discussion with Patrick, filling him in. This is what took place. These are the amount of orders we have. And this is what we're proposing as the final rates to be approved tomorrow night at your board meeting. And then we just ask for like a verbal okay. We know he can't bind everything. The board has to approve it, but that allows our underwriter to go back to communicate with the investors and say, hey, everyone, we're okay at these rates. This is what we're going to finalize things at. And then they'll go ahead and allocate the bonds to the different investors. And then what happens, the attorneys then take all of the interest rate information that we provide to them at about noon, 12:30, we get them the information. They drop it into a stack of documents, this big or more. And then that's what's approved tomorrow night at that meeting. Because right now what you have is form documents with near final. It's just the interest rates are all that's not included in that at this point.
So about 1 o'clock tomorrow, it's all done but the paperwork and our approval.
Yes, that is the goal. That is the goal. That's what we would hope to have happen.
When you get to this call thing 7 years from now, do interest rates play any? I mean, you mentioned if we get a windfall of money, but if we don't get a windfall of money, which is unlikely, do the interest rates at that time make a difference in our decision?
100%. Yes. Okay. So if interest rates are higher, you would not want to execute a refinancing, because the only reason why, there are two reasons really why you would want to. One would be you want interest savings. So again, we've said this a handful of times. It is similar to a mortgage, right? If you're going to refinance, if you can realize interest savings. Another option is if there's some hardship, right? So if something were to happen and the debt payment's too high all of a sudden at year 7, then you could have the option of maybe we refinance, even if we're not saving money, but maybe we stretch the debt out 5 more years or something. I mean, this is when something wrong would have gone wrong, I guess, at that point, if you're looking to restructure or come up with another way to size your debt in a different way. But typically, otherwise, if rates are the same or higher, you're in a better spot to stay where you are.
And it's unlikely they're going to be lower.
I mean, I would tend to agree. with that.
Thank you very much. Good explanation.
Actually, I thought Edmund was asking those questions because he's planning on writing us a big check.
That's right.
So very disappointed if that doesn't happen. I think that Martin emphasized how important tomorrow evening's board meeting is. It won't be long, but we really do need everybody on board on the call tomorrow so that we'll have a quorum for those approvals. Okay. And I would like to thank the Stiefel folks for wearing their gear, so we know.
and I'll tell you too. Becky is a resident as well, and she can take advantage of the facility. So she's looking forward to that.
Excellent.
Right across the street.
Have you been to our temporary quarters?
I have for our reading call, which your group did a great job on. So Martin will speak a little bit more on that tomorrow after the wrap-up call, but the reading process went really well and we're really happy with how that turned out.
Good, good. Patrick, can we let Martin and Becky go off and have a life?
Yeah, I had one quick question for you, if you don't mind, on the documents you sent today, page 2, fourth column rate, and I apologize again for not sharing with this with the board. I'll get that out right after the meeting. The rate there at 4%, how does that compare to the true interest cost on the letter you sent us last week?
Yeah, if you look at page number, do you have the page numbered 4? It's 5 of 7 of the PDF.
Okay.
That's the bond summary statistics at the top of the page.
Gotcha, yeah.
And then if you look at the very bottom of that page, kind of the middle of the page, you see a TIC, the tick. There's a column that says TIC.
Gotcha, yeah.
If you look at the very bottom, you can see the yield there is 2.66%.
Okay.
So that's where I was saying it's about 6-7 basis points higher than where we were. And keep in mind, if the board decides to go 20-year, then that would go up just a little bit more because you're going further out on the yield curve. So the interest rates would go up maybe another 6-7 basis points.
Okay.
But still, around $406,000-$7,000 average annual debt service.
Great.
Any other questions for Becky and Martin, or can we let them exit? Okay, thank you so much for your time and all your hard work on this.
Thank you.
No, thanks.
We've enjoyed working with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and Patrick, I guess if you could just let us know which direction the board decides as far as 17 or 20 years.
Okay.
Be perfect. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Why don't we, Cindy?
I have a question. What did the Budget and Finance Committee, or
I was
have
just
not gotten to that yet? Well, what is their recommendation?
I was just going to ask Erin for that.
If I'm referring to page 18 of the main packet that Patrick sent out for the 20-year versus 17-year fixed rate terms. And the consensus of the committee was, let's go with the 20-year term because it gives the library more flexibility. And just to better support the programs, and the difference in it being more attractive to investors is negligible. So the 20-year is our recommendation.
And Erin, I have one other question because I'm learning a lot about all of this sort of thing. These bond repayments, will that all come out of the levy that was passed a couple of years ago?
Yes, I believe so. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
The board will approve a budget each year with that as part of the annual budget process. We'll have it, Martin is set up and he'll have it, how much of that will be principal each year and how much will be interest, and we'll have that broken out for each year's budget going forward.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any objection to the Budget Committee's recommendation for 20 years? Okay, then that will be an approval item tomorrow evening.
Yeah, tomorrow it'll be the approval of the purchase of the bonds at that. The paperwork will include the 20-year then.
Okay. Let's flip back to the consent agenda. Does anyone have anything they want to say about the consent agenda? Okay. All right, we have.
I make a motion to accept it.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded to accept the consent agenda. Can I have a voice vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda is accepted. We have a few action items. We do not have an invoice from Bond Architects. They were not able to get that to us timely. We do, however, need to award the Phase 2B contract. And we have a recommendation from both committees to accept the bid from Ranieri. And you should all have the bonds analysis of the bids. If you've all had a chance to see that, the Ranieri bid is not only the low bid, theirs is the shortest timeline. In addition, because they're already familiar with the facility, we think they could get started a little quicker. Bond recommends them also. So is there any discussion on the bids?
We,
other
I was gonna say, we discussed this at the Building and Grounds Committee, and I think Helen summarized it very well. There was a letter from the architects that summarizes very carefully, very clearly, the process that we went through and the recommendations, which I think Helen went through in just a minute ago. The fact that they were involved in the second phase, they're currently in the demolition phase. They know the building, and a reputable firm, the architects have worked with them, that low bid, the ability to start work in the shortest time period of completion, and felt that was what we should recommend to the board.
Are there any other questions or discussion? Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll move that we accept the Ranieri bid for, I don't have it in front of me, 4,200,000 and some change.
$4,252,000.
Yep.
Is there a second? Cindy seconding? Okay. Further discussion? Cindy, well, I think we need to do a roll call for this vote.
Okay, Edmund Acosta,
Aye.
Aaron Ginsberg,
Yes.
Joan Greco Cohen.
Yes, thank you. It's nice to be here.
Thank you. Gerald Lander,
Aye.
Helen Nelling,
Aye.
Kathleen Simpson,
Aye.
and Cindy Zerwas, aye.
The motion has been approved to accept the Ranieri bid for Phase 2B of the contract at the amount in their bid, which will be in the minutes. The second action item is a payment request from RG Ross, which should be in your packet.
Starting on page 88.
Okay. Are there any questions about this invoice?
I would like to make a motion that we pay RG Ross
It
for
is
the amount.
$107,808.29.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Okay, motion has been made and seconded to pay RG Ross the amount of their invoice, which will be in the minutes. Cindy, would you like to call for the vote?
Sure. Edmund Acosta,
Aye.
Aaron Ginsberg,
Aye.
Joan Greco Cohen,
Yes,
Gerald Lander,
Aye.
Helen Nelling,
Aye.
Kathleen Simpson,
Aye.
and Cindy Zerwas, aye.
The motion has been approved. We'll pay RG Ross. In the interests of time, Cindy, as chair of the Personnel and Policy Committee, has suggested that we move the action item of policy changes to next month's meeting, because now we've got all this contract and bond issue stuff underway, and we won't be so pressed for time. So we'll take those policy changes up next month. I really don't have a report except to thank everybody for their diligence in looking through all these documents. I know for most of us, it's been a real learning experience. And Edmund, we're looking forward to that donation that you mentioned earlier.
I'm very forgetful, so, and I don't have a wife, so.
I don't know how to say this, Helen, but he has a grandbaby now.
He does.
Grandbabies change everything.
Oh, yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I had 4 hours with her today. Oh, my goodness, I'm still floating.
Aw.
There will be a long-range planning committee meeting on the 16th of February. What time is that meeting, Edmund?
We don't have a time yet. We're hoping to do that, and long-range planning, two particular items at this point. Number one is that at the meeting, I will present a small prototype of the priorities and goals to show how a long-range planning is laid out and what actions actually take place from that picture.
Okay.
And the second thing is that I do want to thank Helen again for bringing those surveys to our attention. I have one of the surveys right here, a hard copy of the surveys. And this is the one that has been designed by a firm that does visionary reports for cities. And for 2040, the year 2040, 20 years out from now, they're going to be doing delivering a vision of what our challenges are over the next 20 years, what our opportunities are, and what might be the aspirations of our citizenry. So this is an opportunity to get your thoughts out there for a product that will be delivered to our mayor, our city manager, within a year. And this is one of the best survey designs that I've seen. This hard copy is available just by walking into the city hall and going to the very, very first entrance stop, and they have copies of it there. I asked Patrick if I could make sure that we have in our library, our circulation desk, any place where we interface with the public, that we have a stack of these available for them. So I would urge every one of our board members to take these opportunities to bring to the attention of our vision formers, the vision authors, bring to their attention the importance of the library and what we think the library might be able to bring to the University City in 20 years. Not only for some of us who are already in the aging process but also to my granddaughter. My granddaughter is going to be 20 years old at that time. So take it from perhaps try to generate some thoughts from the perspective of a 20-year-old, of a 35-year, of a 30-something, and as well as that of a 70-year-old. So it's also available in a virtually, and I'll make sure that every one of the board members has a copy of the link over the next 2 days. I'll make sure that that gets out to you. And
Thank you.
And we can
I-
help
I
out
mean,
our
I'll
own
get
library
those.
by doing this.
I'll get those hard copies over here. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you, Edmund. And I think it's important to emphasize the link between the city and the library.
Yes.
So thank you very much for that. Cindy, do you want to address the next personnel and policy meeting, which we have a bad date on the agenda?
Sure. Sure. Just for clarification purposes, the next personnel and policy committee meeting will be on February 24th, not on March 2nd, as your agenda shows.
And that's at 4 p.m., correct?
I believe
I
so.
have 4:30. I can
4:30?
change it to 4 on my calendar, but I wrote 4:30.
No,
I could be wrong.
No,
I'd have to go back and look at my notes, but I
I
believe
might have been misremembering, Joan.
Let me tell you something. These last 2 weeks for me.
4:30.
Okay, good. Okay.
4:30, yeah.
That's what I wrote.
Go ahead, Cindy.
I was just going to say, just as a little bit of background for the other board members, today we were going to talk about 2 policy changes, and we're just bumping those over a month, and we'll bundle those 2 with whatever we work on at the end of February, depending on what's ready to go. We're just plowing through stuff because there will be other things to deal with down the line. So we thought it would be a good idea to address these issues now.
And Patrick and I discussed that the dating of the Budget and Finance and Building and Grounds Committee meetings will be changed on the agenda since we're having those before the board meeting. So we'll just note on next month's board meeting agenda that those meetings will precede the board meeting, and then we'll do that every month.
Correct.
And that'll be easy. Okay. Is there any?
I'm sorry, Helen, which one meets at 4 and which one meets at 4:30?
Budget meets at 4 and Building and Grounds meets at 4:30.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there any old business? Is there any new business?
I want to give everyone on the board, each one of you gets a pat on the back from all the rest of us, and mainly from yourself, for having brought the library to this point. It has been a really exciting 3 or 4 years in the past, and it's taken a lot of effort, a lot of sweat from a lot of thinking from a whole bunch of people, and
a lot of meetings.
And then this is the beginning.
I have to agree with Edmund. He's been on the board longer than I have. I think you were on the board when I started, but I have to say that I really feel like this group that we have has been great about actively participating and getting these meetings scheduled and doing the work and reading the documents. And this is a lot of work. I mean, all of these documents and all of this stuff wrapped around this, redoing the library and the construction and the bonds. I agree with Edmund. I think this is remarkable work for a volunteer library board.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot of work for the non-voluntary people involved in this library. I mean, I think Patrick, his staff, Kathleen, the whole group has been just remarkable in what they've
Yeah.
accomplished to date and trying to keep everything straight. I mean,
Yeah,
there
yeah.
are so many
Very
things
good
going
point.
on at one time, not just with the bidding process, but with demolition, with this, with that. Anyway, and keeping
Yeah, I
the
agree.
document straight is just a work of art. So Patrick and
And
Catherine, thank you so
we have a
much.
great staff. We
And
really
Well,
do.
basically, in the background, running a library, serving the
With
population.
COVID.
With
As,
So-
as a patron of the library, I have not felt the services drop at all. This is, it's like, you've done this with one hand tied behind your back. So,
And again, I
And
can't.
a mask on your face.
I
Yeah.
can't thank Kathleen enough for- Kathleen has really been crucial to keeping Kathleen and Carrie and Kara and Lindsay and Aaron, all the supervisors and all the staff have just been doing a great job.
Awesome.
okay.
Teamwork.
Buckle your seatbelts because this is just the tip of the iceberg. We've got another couple of years of a real excitement coming up.
Yeah, we're looking forward to moving everything back.
Why do you say a couple of years, Edmund?
Yeah, hopefully not a couple, just one and done. One more.
I'm hoping
Exactly.
That's our new motto.
2022 is gonna, by December, I'm hoping for
Yeah.
very
Yep.
different
Yep.
results.
One and done. Well, one and done for phase 2.
Yeah.
Unless something unforeseen happens.
Okay, on that disturbing note, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Before we do, can I
I
just
make
remind
that
everyone
motion.
that
Oh.
5:15 tomorrow for the sale of the certificates of participation, and I'll send out a link directly after this, a new link to everyone for that
Okay.
one.
Great,
Okay.
okay.
Thank you,
Oh,
Patrick.
and so
Motion.
once I inform Martin, they'll start putting together the packet. So it'll be the entire, giant packet of
27,000 pages.
200 and some pages again, with updated numbers. So I think I'll just wait. I was going to send you a paginated one of this, but I'll wait until we get the actual.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Goodbye, all.
all right.
Okay,
Good night.
Bye.
there was a motion.
Oh,
So-
we are adjourned, I assume.
Mañana. See you
Good night,
mañana.
everybody. Thank you for your patience.
Thank